Kansas lawmakers return to Topeka for the annual veto session.
Max Dunn joining us live this morning to explain which vetoes lawmakers could overturn today. Max.
And Britt, members of both the House and Senate will be returning to Topeka today for that veto session. They will be looking to veto and override some of Governor Kelly's vetoes that she's already made. She's actually already made at least 8 bills vetoed, while lawmakers will be adjourned. For each bill, Republicans will need a 2/3 majority vote. Among the bills for possible overrides, Senate Bill 29, which would ban local health authorities from prohibiting public gatherings to control infectious disease. Senate Bill 79, which would ban SNAP funds from being used for buying candy and soft drinks. And then House Bill 2217, that would expand the Inspector General's powers to investigate state food and health programs. Now, among the bills up for possible overrides, we also learned Governor Kelly vetoed another bill last night. House Bill 2062 sought to offer child support payments to a mother from the date of conception. However, Democrats criticized the bill for creating the concept of fetal personhood. It's in Kansas law, which they say could lead to abortion restrictions. Of course, we'll be following the veto session today in Topeka and provide you any updates tonight on 12 News that we get from the State House. Guys.